Well, I started this community for female reactors onto this Discord that I created because I felt alone and I felt, that I didn't have anyone to talk to in this space that really understood what we uniquely go through. It's such a unique job, and it's also so isolating. And I just focus on that, and I focus on my loved ones and the people who know me for me and love me for me. And that's what you need in life.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Reactorverse Podcast. I'm joined today by someone I personally would call a legend or an icon in the space. It is the one and only Mary Cherry. Mary, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm so sorry that it took me so long to finally, to be on this show. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so happy to meet you finally, since I feel like I've known you in the React space for the longest time, like probably since like 2015. And now I'm finally meeting you. So it's really cool and really surreal.
Yeah, it's very surreal to be able to speak to you one-on-one finally. We've spoken over online through text to friends of friends, mutual friends, stuff like that. So it is kind of crazy to finally have you here to speak with one-on-one. And it's been a busy year. When I first started this podcast, you were one of the first people I had in mind to bring on to speak with, just because I really wanted to hear your experience and your insight. But it's understandable, you've been moving, you've been traveling, reworking the whole space, and also you're currently in the future from where I am, so I understand the limitations.
Yeah, that's so true. I got a lot of side passions of mine too that I keep myself busy with as well.
Of course,
So life's been busy, but I'm so glad to finally sit down with you and have a chat.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you here, of course. As we get into the brunt of the channel, you just have had so many accomplishments over the years. Again, with the reactions itself, but just also everything else that you've done creatively abroad with other people. I kind of want to go over that whole experience with you. As we usually do here, we start at the very beginning. As we mentioned, you live in Australia. So that's, where you're from, where you're currently coming in from right now. It's very early for you, so I appreciate it for joining us here now. What was your sort of initial exposure to TV and American cinema growing up in Australia and your background with movies that way?
Well, before I even went into kindergarten and preschool, my mom had always Bold and the Beautiful and The Days of Our Lives on TV. And I feel like I learned English through The Bold and the Beautiful and The Days of Our Lives. And then when I got into school, I was like, oh, the Australian accent. That's cool. So yeah, a lot of people are like, your accent's not fully Australian. I'm like, because you know what? I've probably been influenced by a lot of American TV.
Right.
Like just growing up from literally zero to now.
Yeah, that makes sense. I spoke with LM Reactions, and they live in Serbia. They're kind of saying the same thing. They said they grew up watching a lot of telenovelas, like Spanish-speaking channels, and they were able to speak fluent Spanish by the time they grew up, and instead of speaking Serbian, so they could have that secret language between themselves.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Did you have any other specific hobbies and stuff like growing up? Besides film. Before obviously you got into the reaction space, just like what you were doing as for fun, just growing up.
Growing up, well, I didn't watch a lot of movies, obviously, when I was growing up. So I played outside with my neighbors a lot. I had a lot of neighbors, and after school, we'd always play and hang out outside. I had rollerblades, bikes. We'd play handball, hopscotch, netball, things like that. And I used to play with my dolls a lot. And then also make believe, pretend I had fairyland, which was I played a fairy named Poe.
Oh wow.
And I also played this, I think we called it witchcraft and wizardry school or something like that. heavily influenced by Mildred Hubble. So I was allowed to watch ABC Kids. And so all of the kids shows I am totally familiar with, all the Australian kids shows and British kids shows from back then. That was my bag. But yeah, I had that kind of upbringing, and then also like tutoring, once a week tutoring.
You were tutoring, or you were being tutored?
I was being tutored.
I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. So that's what growing up was like for me, hobbies wise.
Yeah. Do you recall your sort of early exposure to YouTube and just content creation in general? Were there any specific, sort of inspirations or like people you were following when you found it?
Yeah. I feel like I got into YouTube probably in 2006 or 7. So this was pre-monetization days, because I think they started monetizing in 2010. So content was unhinged back then. Like people could make whatever they wanted to.
Right. I remember
I
those days.
I watched all of the pioneers from back in the day, but particularly Jenna Marble's community channel.
Oh yeah.
She's
Oh, I loved
Australian.
Community
I
Channel.
love her so
Yeah.
much. She is so sweet, and I got to meet her at her 1 million subscriber party that she
Nice.
hosted in Sydney, and she's so nice. It's when they say don't meet your heroes, it's like it's not true in that case, because she was just the loveliest person. So community channel, and then a lot of makeup channels. So Loz Curtis, Australian, Chloe Morello, Australian, Shanexo from New Zealand, Carissa Pukas, Canadian, but she moved to Australia. So a lot of beauty channels.
Right.
And then we have the, I guess, American YouTube pioneers, Boyfriend versus Girlfriend, first prank channel. Shane Dawson, he did a lot of crazy skits. So I was into like skits and then also makeup.
Yeah.
Those are my two genres.
Yeah, it's a good combo. Good combo into this, I guess, the performative nature of the space. That brings me back. I remember I did a trailer for like a movie once. It was called Bob the Internet Assassin. It was a guy who was like, the narrative was he was going around assassinating like all the famous internet people, like Jenna Marbles, Shane Dawson, all the people. They're actually in it and stuff and everything. And it was it was a crazy production. It was a crazy production.
Oh my gosh, I would love to see it after this.
Yeah.
If you still have the link.
If it's somewhere, it might be online for free now at this point. It's just on YouTube.
Cool.
Were you familiar with the reaction space before you got involved with it? Was that something that you sort of discovered naturally through yourself, or was it something you had to look into?
I had no idea. I literally had zero clue, because I started my channel just as a way to practice makeup. So this was before I was a certified makeup artist. And also, whilst I was doing that, I was studying my bachelor's degree,
right?
In media. So it was a way for me to practice editing and producing, and also practicing makeup. So it was a way. It was purely for my own learning benefits that I was producing content. And then one of my friends, Waleed, he was like, "Oh, you love Game of Thrones. You should post yourself watching Game of Thrones." And I was like, "I never thought of that. That'd be so cool, because then maybe like I could find some people to talk about the show with." And that's literally how and why I got into the React space. And I had no idea if there even was a community, basically. I woke up the next day and my video had 11,000 views. And then also my reaction was on this Canadian news website, as well as like, people are going crazy over season 5, episode 10 of Game of Thrones. Here are all the people and their reactions. And I was in it and I was like, whoa, me? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Why am I in this article? And that's when I really started to get a feel of how passionate people are about their shows, in particular. But yeah, I was just super into Game of Thrones. I was really, really locked into that, and also the books as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's Game of Thrones, Walking Dead, that whole era of TV was sort of such a huge catalyst for the reaction
It
space.
was.
Yeah. For a long time, we had specifically sort of trailer reactions, and that was sort of the bread and butter for a lot of channels. And then around 2016 is, yeah, like TV shows sort of blew up for the reaction space, and that sort of like ushered in the new wave of people, going through TV show episode reactions, stuff like that. And Game of Thrones was such a huge part of that, as well as Walking Dead. Do you
Mm.
remember when you got started in those early years with the show? Any sort of like specific cultural conversation being a part of it? Because I remember back then, like you said, just being a part of like how passionate everyone was week to week talking about it. Being part of just that conversation week to week was like the fun part of it. Being able to have discourse with everyone. Just what was that like for you? I guess getting the channel started, but then also being a part of the conversation you'd see through the comments and through the other channels and stuff.
Yeah, I really loved being a part of that conversation because I
Mhm.
had my full-time job, which was obviously Monday to Friday. Sorry. It really likes to do that, by the way. So if it does that again, I'm sorry in
No problem.
advance. Um, yeah, which was obviously Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And then I had this side thing, which I was a part of, that I just got to talk to people about Game of Thrones. And I actually still recognize and know the people who knew my channel back then for my reactions back then. I still know them today. I'm like, oh, that's that person
Yeah.
who who used to comment on my videos in 2016, and I'm like, I communicate with those people still. So yeah, like
Yeah.
I can name a few of them right now, but like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I still remember those early conversations when my channel was like little baby Mary Cherry channel days.
Yeah. Yeah. You never forget the first few that, come in and really support
Absolutely,
you.
absolutely.
Um, when you were getting started, did you have any significant learning curves just for the format in terms of like editing, recording, stuff like that, but also the performative nature of it, just being on camera and just being comfortable articulating yourself, within the reactions?
Yeah, I for sure said like and like a lot. Yeah, obviously, like obviously that's what I meant about that. Like like, you just pick up on these things that, yeah, do I talk like that and do I sound like that? Okay, I need to change my communication style a little bit. I need to talk about it for longer because at the end, that's when I got shy, I think, just talking about my thoughts at the end. And then I'd post these videos. I'm like, wait, I didn't even talk about this. Like I must have just gone blank after the show. And I think I've gotten better at knowing how to articulate my thoughts right after I watch something and also edit, because back in the Game of Thrones reaction days, so like 2015, 16, as I said, I had a full-time job. I didn't monetize what I was putting out on the internet, nor did I
Mhm.
care to. So editing for me was not important. I'd post like a 2 minute. We'd have like 2 minutes of Game of Thrones content, and I was just reacting to that.
Right.
It
Yeah.
just never stopped. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, let's just let this roll.
Yeah.
Where you can't do that today, and you gotta like you gotta edit the actual footage of the movie or the TV show. So I lower the opacity, for example. Sometimes
Mm.
I'll add like a filter on top of the actual movie or the TV show. Maybe I'll need to flip the screen, like horizontal flip sometimes,
Yeah.
or for content that's tricky to get around. So I had no idea about any of that, but nor did I care, because I was like, this isn't a job. This is just a hobby for me. But
Right.
now I do have to think about those things because
Mm.
this is the only thing that I do.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, exactly. You gotta make sure that you can keep it monetized. Otherwise, you get nothing from it, and that becomes a huge problem just down the line to keep it going. I
Absolutely.
remember you had sent me once a sheet of just like the way you sort of like would like your videos to be structured, and I found that so as an editor so incredibly helpful and just like impressive. The way you have like a specific set of standards of how your videos should look and feel, because it's I've worked with a lot of people at this point, and you have like down to like almost like a science of just like how you want it. And like I really love the way that you just sort of have be able to break that down. It like speaks to, I think, probably just like an organizational skill that you might have for the channel that's like, really helps you thrive in a way.
I think what I've realized is I might be a type A personality. I might be.
Right.
Yeah, I would say that I am very organized. I have a calendar that I open every single day. I'm about, I want to say I'm like 4 to 5 weeks in ahead of content at this point. Then it gives me time to, do things like audition for voice acting gigs, which yesterday I just dedicated the whole day to just like audition. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And do things around the house, like
Yeah.
cook and clean and, spend time with my cat. So I love to be organized so that I have time for my loved ones,
Mhm.
and for life things that truly matter. So yeah, I do have a very scientific, as you called it, editing sheet that I like to, because I like to set my editors up for success.
Mhm.
Like when I find a new editor, I want them to win. I want them to succeed. I want them to learn as well. I hired an editor that had no Premiere Pro experience, and I was like, you know what? Like you don't have Premiere Pro experience, but you have editing experience and you're really determined to learn. So I will teach you. I will go through everything with you. And now he knows how to use an entirely different program, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
he's doing incredible.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah, I think it's worth it if you see somebody who's like really keen.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the organizational structure is such an important part. I've spoken with other channels about, like you said, just being ahead, giving yourself that buffer in case things come up. You want to take a day, you want to like just have something come up that you want to try, on the fly. It's luckily it's the best way to sort of keep yourself from being in the grind day to day, week to week, that you feel like sort of swamped by the content you got to keep up with. And for the shows themselves, after you got through Game of Thrones and like Walking Dead and Stranger Things, those sort of big, stable shows when you first started out. I believe the first show you did after that was Dark. That was like a big run that you did. And
Yeah,
then from
Rockstar.
there, yeah, did you have any specific sort of like strategy or like, plan that you wanted to try with the channel after those major shows? Or was it sort of just like, going with what you feel?
So I say that I'm a YouTuber from 2020 because that's when I took it. Like I lost all my jobs after maybe it was a year of not posting content.
Mhm.
Um, and when I lost my jobs, I was like, okay, maybe I could make YouTube into a job because I have this channel already. At the time that I thought to myself, okay, maybe I can make YouTube into a job. I already had 12,000 followers from my beauty makeup days, but then also my random 7 videos a year of Game of Thrones
Right.
content. So I had 12,000 subscribers, but I basically, when you don't post for a year, it's like you're starting from zero anyway, because those subscribers don't see your content. Because YouTube is like, you don't deserve your subscribers.
Yeah. You got to win
So
them back. Yeah.
you basically have to start from zero. So what I did was just ask what people would like to see and give me their recommendations. So somebody named Ron recommended a show called Dark to me. Somebody named John recommended Star Wars to me. So I took on uh, uh, just recommendations from my existing followers. So I was really lucky in that way, actually. They kind of guided me and they told me what they wanted to see from me. And I still do that. Like I'll read comments and I'll jot down people's recommendations. I'll put it in a big list because now I
Mhm.
have a list. It's not like back in 2020 when I was like, oh, that's one suggestion. Let's
Yeah.
go with it. Now I get so many that I need to put it onto a list,
Right.
and then eventually that list gets filtered down. And yeah, that's how I work today. But back then I had no strategy. I was like, let's just hear what people want to see.
Yeah, and the pandemic experience, it's such an important part of the reaction format now, the genre, the whole space, because it created such a, like you said, a captivated space for people to sit down and be like, I want to really try this. We have so many channels now, like Natalie Gold, Popcorn in Bed, people who came up through that time and they were able to thrive with it, and they're still around today. Do you recall just what that first year was like, dealing with the pandemic, at large in the world and your personal life, but also trying to sort of kickstart the channel through that?
Mm. Well, I would say I'm an ambivert.
Mhm.
So I can thrive being an introvert, but I also like to go out and hang out with my friends and family and all of that kind of stuff. So when the pandemic happened and we were all told to stay at home, I was like, this is not so bad. Like for me,
Right. Yeah.
because now I'm just home all the time, and that's cool. So yeah, I thought it was really cool seeing all these creators pop up in that 2020 period.
Mhm.
But at the same time, because I was reacting to stuff, when I would see people pop up on my newsfeed, I wouldn't be able to click on their videos because I'm like, what if I react to that?
Oh,
Or
right.
like,
Yeah.
what if or if I've seen the movie before, then I'd be like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I might click on that, and that's how I got to know some of the creators that I know today,
Mhm.
just from that YouTube recommendation section.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really important to be able to network through that and find. I mean, I've been able to luckily trick my algorithm into feeding me a consistent balance of reactors that I know and new faces that I can like look into and sort of like discover as well for this show. So it's been a lot of fun since then, just like seeing everyone sort of give it a try.
Mhm.
With the reactions itself, do you recall any specific point, maybe within that year, within 2020 or soon after, where you felt like, okay, I've officially sort of tapped into something here, and I do have a footing to keep this going, and you decided like maybe you can turn this into like a viable career?
Yeah, I do remember there was a specific month, and it was September. And I think I made like $1,000, and I was like, "Wow, oh my god, I can make this a job now." Yeah, it was Patreon, I believe, that I hit that goal, and I was like, "Oh wow, I can buy gear, I can buy proper gear now."
Mhm.
I can expand. I can maybe buy a webcam as well. Or no, I had my webcam at that point. Sorry, I can put that into my camera, and then I ended up buying a Sony A6600.
Mhm.
So it was a really, really exciting time for me. Because yeah, I would just put that money into production, and I was really excited about seeing how my new studio would look like.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
just investing back into yourself to keep
Mhm.
it
Yep.
growing and expanding, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and, like, at the same time, you mentioned, getting into gaming and live streaming and stuff like that. That's such a important part of the reaction experience too. A lot of channels have that now where they're able to put out the reactions, but also live stream on weekends or whatever they can. How do you, compare those 2 experiences, the live stream experience versus like the pre-recorded experience, and be able to put out a video, when it's ready?
Well, I absolutely love live streaming, and I've made so many friends through live streaming, um, like, who are a part of my community and that I play games with to this day.
Mhm.
Um, so that's been really cool. That's been awesome. So yeah, I love live streaming on Twitch. That's my favorite platform to live stream on, because I feel like everybody's focused on games
Right.
specifically, uh, and they're locked into games because Twitch it's predominantly for gamers,
Mhm.
even though there are other broadcasts like just chatting and like hot tub streams and
Right.
things like that. There's definitely other categories and
Yeah.
metas, but it's predominantly for gaming. And so I really loved discovering Twitch. And that was really fun to just like learn games while I was broadcasting it and learning at the same time. It was quite challenging. And sometimes people will be like, hey, didn't you pay attention to that part in the game? I'm like, there's so much going on.
Yeah.
I'm so overstimulated that, yeah, I might have missed something in the game, but it doesn't mean that I'm not having fun or I don't love it. It just means that I am overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But, when you're neurodivergent and you've got a lot of stimuli and it's just a lot. For me, at the beginning of that journey, it was quite a lot. It was a lot. There was the learning aspect, there was the gaming aspect, but then there was also wanting to chat to people and
Right.
answer them. So there's a lot going on, but I find it's more manageable today.
Of course. Yeah. Getting into that format is like something I've personally been interested in, but like you said, it is daunting to think of, just like how to set that up, all the bells and whistles to get that going. And then just like you said, being sort of in the zone when you're actually doing it. I've spoken to some people who do reactions and streaming, and they say like, I kind of like black out when I stream. I just or like I go through it, and then when I'm done, I'm just like, whoa, like what just happened? Like 5 hours just went by. Yeah.
Yeah, and like, because I've talked to people who have just started streaming, or they've done like one stream or two streams, and after an hour they're like, wow, I don't know how you do it for like 5 hours. I was so drained after just 1 hour.
Yeah.
And I just thought to myself, yeah, that actually was what it was like when I was first starting out. It's very mentally and emotionally exhausting to put yourself out there live, because you're also conscious of like, this is live. This isn't edited. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And anything could go wrong.
Yeah, it's kind of like just like a live improv show. Like you got to sort of
Yeah.
be on your game, so got to yes and with the material and like the
Mhm.
audience and everything going on. So yeah, it's definitely taxing in
Mhm.
its own way.
Mhm.
Um, and were you a big gamer before that, or was it some video game something you grew up with, or was it something you sort of learned as you started getting more into live streaming?
I wouldn't say I was a big gamer, but the only game that I ever really played was because we had a we had a pre-loved computer when I was growing up. Um, and that computer had this game called Renegade Command and Conquer,
Oh
which was
right.
a PC game. I think it was released in 2002, I
Hmm.
think. And so I played the shit out of this one game. Sorry for saying shit.
It's okay.
I don't know
It's
if
okay.
I'm allowed to say that.
You can
But,
say it. It's no problem.
yeah, so I played a lot of that, and, there was also a PC game called Dangerous Dave that I really loved,
Mhm.
and then my brother got a PS3, and he had the Tomb Raider game, Futurama. I wouldn't play the games, like, I would never finish a game, but, like,
Right.
he'd hand me the controller, and I'd be like, "Oh, cool," jumping around, doing things, but I'd never, like, complete anything, if
Mhm.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't really call myself a gamer, but that's my background and my experience. So when I picked up Red Dead Redemption 2 for the first time, that was my first proper game
Yeah.
with good graphics, and like I feel like everything was so much more complicated in this game compared to Renegade Command and Conquer
Yeah.
from 2002.
Yeah.
There was so much to do in this game, and it was so big,
Yeah.
um, and it was very overwhelming, but it was really cool. I got into it instantly, and I
Mhm.
loved it so much, and it was always something that I wanted to one day pick up, but I never really had the time.
Yeah.
Working 9 to 5, studying my bachelor's degree, studying, um, my TAFE course in makeup, working a lot, and then also, then I picked up my master's. So it was a very busy time that I just I never found myself with enough time
Yeah.
until the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, though, I can relate to the pandemic experience. Like I said, it wasn't too bad being inside.
Hmm.
Because I met my partner through the pandemic. We both
Aw.
worked for the same game show. She was a competitor. I was the editor for the show, and she
Cool.
came to stay with me just to crash for an event we were going to hold in
Mhm.
March 2020, and then everything shut down. And so I was like, just stay here for a couple of weeks. It'll blow over by then. And so now she's still here, essentially. So,
Oh, wow. What a
yeah.
beautiful story.
Yeah, it's really great. So the pandemic was pretty nice to both of us. That's what we say. We know it was a terrible time in general, but
Yeah, of
it was not a bad
course.
experience
Yeah.
for us. Yeah.
Yeah. I always have to say that as well. I always have to say, like, obviously it was really bad. I personally liked staying inside. I felt
Yes.
really safe, and I picked up a lot of fun hobbies and
Exactly.
interests.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, but in that time, the space itself blew up so much, as you mentioned, and you yourself, you've over the years been able to collaborate with a lot of those people, from people that I know personally, like Cinepals, Cinebinge, who we've had on as well, Ashley
Mhm.
Burton. I always love seeing, yes, the collaborations between channels, just because I love connecting people through the space and seeing that sort of community grow between one another. I interviewed Camilla from her channel Centane and last year, and
Mm.
she even mentioned you specifically as someone who welcomed her into the community, and she really appreciated the insight
Aw.
and help that you gave her. So just being that sort of person and having that sort of position in the space, I guess, what has it been like for you over the last few years to be able to connect with people like that and just like share those experiences with your peers?
Yeah, first of all, shout out back to Camilla because she's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I met Camilla because somebody in my community had mentioned to me, had told me about her, and I was like, well, I started this community for female reactors so
Mhm.
that we could all. I think I started it in 2021, and I just started like adding all of the female reactors that I could think of onto this Discord that I created
Mhm.
because I felt alone and I felt, that I didn't have anyone to talk to in this space,
Right.
that really understood, I guess, that understood what we uniquely go through in terms of like the bullying,
Mhm.
the objectification, but also it was really nice to create a space for women where we could also talk about things like uh, demonetization and strikes and things like that. We also talk about things like that, and also we talk about collaborating
Right.
and new things that are going on. So I wanted to create a space like that, and I welcome female reactors in that space very happily. And Camilla was one of those people. And I think she's so nice. I'm so
She's
happy
great.
she's part of it as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, through that is where I collaborated with Vicuña and also Ashley Burton. I've played some games with Natalie Gold as well. We've all played together
Right.
through through that community that I built in 2021. So yeah, it's been really, really cool, and there's been a lot of great benefits to it. Mainly friendship. That's what that
Mm.
was like the big thing for me because it's such a unique job, and it's also so isolating. And
Yeah.
I used to come from like a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday job, and I was very social, and I loved talking to people, and then I just didn't have that at all, and it was quite sad.
Right. Right. Yeah, like that community, that yes, like social interaction you can have with people in the work, about the work, so that way it doesn't feel overwhelming in itself. Just the subject matter itself.
Yeah,
My good friend Iman Snow, she also mentioned your help that you've given her over the years
I
and
love
stuff.
her.
Yeah, I still work for her. She's who got me into the reaction space. She's the first person who ever gave me editing job
Yeah,
for a
she
channel.
that's
So
that's how I knew you, I think. I think she
yeah,
told me about you, and then that's how we started to talk.
yeah. So yeah, like, having that Discord I know is so important because of the stories that she's told me about her experience. With her channel getting started and like how hard, like you said, like women can have it in this space, not just in the internet in general, but like also specifically in this space and how much you put yourself
Mhm.
out there for that stuff. I really admire your presence in the space because over the years that I've known you and I've seen your work, you really do sort of put your foot down when it comes to, the kind of interactions that you want to allow in your community, in your comments, and you don't really, to like let things slide. I think the issue that I really bothers me with a lot of online culture is, oh, just ignore the haters, like don't feed the trolls. If someone's rude, just like, ignore them. That's going to be part of the job. That's something you just have to kind of deal with.
Mhm.
And you really haven't really let that, roll over you. You've kind of like really stood up for yourself in a way that I think I wish a lot of people more could have the, courage to do, but that's really scary to do sometimes, especially when you feel like your livelihood's on the line. Just approaching that, sort of mindset of, being able to understand your value and like your self-worth. How do you, combat those, elements, comments and like, just like, the aggression that like, women can get in the online space?
Yeah. I think from a societal point of view, I think women are expected to forgive and let things slide or laugh off inappropriate comments and like crack a smile. We've
Right.
all heard that. Just smile, you'd look better. Or like, it was a joke, smile, stop being so serious, kind of thing.
Right.
Even when boundaries are being pushed and we're being trolled online, any if I was to pass on any advice, it would be to make your boundaries known and to have a support network, whether it be family, friends, or your community. I'm really lucky because I have all three. And I just focus on that, and I focus on my loved ones and the people who know me for me and love me for me. And you know what? That's good enough.
Right.
And that's what you need in life.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, when I talk to Iman and others in the space, like I think the hard part is that, like you said, with the Discord community, you feel so alone when you had to face these things, and you feel so like isolated. And if you don't have peers to talk to, you can feel overwhelmed by the negativity that can come towards you.
Totally.
Um, yeah, there was a channel that popped up several years ago during the Walking Dead era, in the final seasons of it. A young girl called Naomi E Reacts, and she reacted to like some of the big episodes, and she like quickly got like up to like 30,000 subscribers over like a year. But I would constantly see her post on her community tab like, hey guys, like I was really emotional in the last episode. Could people not be so mean about like
Oh,
me crying, stuff like that? And it was really hard to see, and eventually she just ended up closing the channel down because it was just too much for her to you
that's
know
so
get
sad.
through. And like that really, yeah, that's the hard part of when I see people in the space, and it's like really hard to see people who are starting this and like they are hit with those things. It's like a big sort of a culture shock of being involved in the space and not being able to have people to support you and tell you like
Mm,
how to navigate those elements. So I'm really appreciative that you have that space and that you have that Discord for people, because I think it's a really essential part of growing this community and making sure that it
yeah.
stays as positive as it has been over the last several years.
Yeah. I wish I had the Discord when she was around because I would have been like, come join, like
Yeah,
talk to us all kind of
exactly.
thing. But yeah, I mean, that's really sad.
Yeah, it's a hard part to see. That's why I really like doing this. I like reaching out to people to hopefully connect with them with one another to make them feel not as alone. And for you, just like over the last several years, that you've been growing the channel, you've reached 200K and so on. You've had a lot of accomplishments, to be proud of. But we were talking about this before off camera, that you like to sort of diversify yourself creatively. You like to do live streaming. You like to do the different types of things. Voice acting is something that you're pursuing. And I just saw this week that you had voice acting lessons that you got through. What has that, I guess, journey been like to you to like continue to grow creatively, even off camera, and just try new things?
Yeah, I love trying new things.
Mhm.
I finished improv as well. Like I think it was,
Oh, nice.
yeah, in November last year or December last year. I did my performance for improv, and I was wanting to do the next step, but then I
Mhm.
thought to myself, wait, I really, really want to have a crack at voice acting. So I joined Chris Carr's class at Speak Friends Studio. And I did the intro to voice acting class that she offers. And then I did the advanced voiceover class that she offers as well. So in total, it was 12 weeks
Mhm.
of voice acting lessons, how to audition for game roles, ad roles, like promotional content, commercial stuff, how to do audiobooks, mocap lessons. So it was really,
Wow.
really, really cool. And I was so shy at first because it's a class. So basically there's like four or five other people there. So
Mhm.
you're just like when you're voice acting, you're kind of acting physically as well,
Right.
because you have to get your body and your breath in the right way in order to put on a new voice. So that was what I learned in the class, and
Yeah.
it was really cool to learn that. But I also figured that I have done quite a lot of voiceover when I do commentary
Mhm.
for my channel, which I never even thought about. But
True.
commentating,
Yeah.
that's it's voice acting in a way.
Yeah.
And like all of the promotional ad spots that I do for videos, like the ad reads that YouTubers
Right.
or all of that
Yeah.
stuff. That's voiceover work. So I learned this through her class. I've actually got some experience in voice over already, and so I just want to hone in on that now, and try and get some gigs, because I find it really really refreshing, because it's something new
Yeah.
and really fun. And I think, like, in my career, when I used to work an office job, I always wanted to keep learning and keep doing new things. So after
Mhm.
like a year or two, I'd be like, what's the next thing that I can learn? Because I feel like I've learned everything already. Let's
Right.
do something new. So yeah, it's been really cool. It's been really fun.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to dive into it more this year.
That's awesome. Yeah. Do you feel like the improv and voice acting classes have impacted the reactions in any way? Have you brought in anything over from that, like lessons or just like sort of tactics to it?
In terms of voice acting, there, yeah, a little. I did. So you know how Popcorn in Bed does the poppies?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she'd reached out to me and she was like, "Hey, do you want to be a part of poppies?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, that sounds so fun."
Yeah.
It's an opportunity for me to work on a skit. So I worked on a skit. And before I sent it to Cassie, I sent it to Chris, my voiceover teacher. And I was like, how is the inflections in my voice? Am I doing okay? And she was like, yeah, it's really good. Like, I love the way you did this and this. And so, yeah, I would say that it is kind of seeping into my work, like my current work, because I'm
Right.
like, how can I do a little bit more voice acting in the work that I already do?
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I love the poppies. I love seeing everyone sort of come together for that. So yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that skit when that happened.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
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 The Mikey Madison thing. Yeah, I was like, "What can I do? What's a good skit? What's" I think this is topical because I keep getting told that I look like Mikey Madison, so
Yeah.
let's go with that.
Yeah, I definitely see the similarities. I remember when I first saw her in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, obviously, like a lot of people
Oh,
did, and
yeah.
I was like, I remember thinking like this person looks like Mary Mary Cherry when I still was watching it in theaters.
That's so funny.
Um, over the years with the channel, what would you say has been the most consistent obstacle that you faced with it?
Um, Probably the copyright stuff, which is probably I I'm gonna guess that if you ask other people this question, they're probably gonna say the same thing. It's gotta be the
Yeah,
copyright. It's always
usually,
gotta
yeah.
be copyright.
It's
These
usually
days,
copyright or time management. That's the two big things.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. Well, personally, I'm fine with time management, except
Mhm.
for I probably don't have the most time to stream these days, because that's like you have to be present for X amount of time in real
Right.
time.
Yeah.
Uh, so I'm kind of like, I guess, not as consistent there. But in terms of like copyright, yeah, yeah, it's still a B word. um, I'm finding I'm getting hit by Universal and DreamWorks quite a lot for my past videos
Yeah.
quite frequently. That's been the big ones. And yeah, we speak about that in the Discord that I have, and that is, it's not just my experience. Like that's going around with the other reactors too. So yeah, I don't know what's going on in the studios over there, but we have to fight it.
Yeah,
And we do.
yeah, they're up to something. Yeah, I did a reaction edit for someone this past week, and I uploaded it, and it got dinged. And you know how it usually tells you like it's from this source, like this studio that like has like this specific time frame. This is the first time I saw one where it said the source unknown. The provider has not made the material public yet. Even though it was copywriting was dinging like a 10 section of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
There's
from
also like false ones going around too.
yeah, I've definitely heard of those as well.
Yeah. A false one that's been happening quite a bit is AdRev has claimed your video, and I'm like, who's AdRev? Like what? So that's another one.
Yeah, I've seen a handful of those as well this year. How do you feel you've personally grown over the years with the channel?
I'd probably say I've grown from a technical point of view. I listen and watch my older videos back, and I just think, what the hell was up with the audio? But yeah, I ended up getting a Go XLR and this mic
Nice.
but the Go XLR was end of 2022, and I think end of 2020. I might be wrong with the dates, but there was a certain point where my audio just suddenly got really good compared to what it was in the past.
Yeah.
And then also like from an editing point of view as well. In 2021, I wasn't checking editors' edits to me, which sounds really bad, but I was posting 7 videos a week
Right.
and live streaming. So it was a very busy time for me, and I was just like, you know what? I've hired these editors and I've given them a blueprint to set them up for success. So I don't need to check their work.
Yeah.
I have checked their works, and they do well. So I'm just going to trust it all. So now I make sure to check everything, but also I post less, so I have more time to thoroughly check things. And yeah, my audio's improved. Hopefully my lighting's improved as well. My background, I think this is the best background that I've had maybe in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would just say, like, from a production standpoint, there's definitely been things that I've noticed have improved.
Of course. Yeah, definitely. And obviously, like you mentioned before, like this is the new studio setup. So just being able to put that together, how you envision it, is like a great thing to have. And beyond any monetary or financial value, what has been the most rewarding aspect of the channel?
I think I would have to say my Discord community. I think we have a really welcoming and lovely community full of people that they're just so funny, and they talk to each other, they talk to me, and I feel like I can, just pop in and just react to their posts, and
Yeah.
it's just it's a really cool community that we've got over there. And it feels really personal too. I would say that, and also just like hearing from people on Patreon too. Like, I'll be like, what do you think of this thumbnail compared to this? And then I will hear feedback directly from people. So I would say the community aspect has been so good, because I never really feel like I'm alone, even though I have a very isolating job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Being able to lean on them for important
yeah,
subjects and times and questions like that, for sure. Yeah.
totally.
Great benefit.
Mhm.
We do our final questionnaire that we give to everyone. It's just 10 questions down the line for everyone. First question being, what is your favorite TV show of all time?
The Simpsons.
The Simpsons? Really? Wow. That's the first one we got, which I
Yeah,
definitely agree with. I love The Simpsons so much.
yeah. I've actually been rewatching it,
Yeah.
and it's as an adult, it's just so much funnier.
Do you have like a cutoff of where you sort of stop watching it, or do you love the whole series?
I started at season 10 and then I went back to season 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched season 10 and 11 and then I've gone back to season 3, and it's just there's like wider messages going on that you wouldn't have clued in as a kid. And so that adult experience is so much better.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I
I'd
love
love to see
revisiting.
Yeah.
What is your favorite film of all time?
The Princess Bride.
Oh, that's a great one as well. Yeah.
I watch that like almost every year. It's so good.
Yeah, I think I watched it. I just did an edit for it actually for a preview last year,
Oh,
so that was a
cool.
fun one to get through.
So
Yeah, what stresses you out?
probably the news.
Mm-hmm.
The news is really sad.
Yeah, that's fair.
Stresses me out.
It's a very fair assessment.
Mhm.
What helps you relax?
Probably a nice jacuzzi or like a
Mhm.
bath bomb. I love
Yeah,
Lush bath bombs, and like a good book and a nice glass of red wine whilst I'm in the bath.
yeah,
You know what I mean? That's
yeah,
like my ideal way of relaxing.
yeah. Sounds very relaxing for sure. What hobby or passion do you currently have outside of TV and film?
Games, voice
Mhm.
acting, and I want to get back into improv again. So like do
Right.
level 2.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that something that you need to fulfill for? Like, you have to go back into like the first classes again, or can you
No.
just jump right into it?
Yeah, so there's levels to improv. I completed level 1, and then it gets more complex as you progress. And I think
Mm.
there's 7 levels.
Oh wow.
And then after the 7th level, if you want to, and if you're good enough, you can do your own shows.
Oh cool.
And people would then buy tickets to your shows, and you could be
Yeah.
on the the comedy shows. So yeah, I mean, I think that'd be really cool. It's a way to skill up
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
terms of your presentation.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. What is your guilty pleasure, show or film?
Guilty pleasure would for shows, I would probably say Jane the Virgin,
Hmm.
Nip Tuck,
Yeah.
and MILF Manor. Yeah.
My partner watches Bill Fanner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I only watched one season because that was as much that was available for me in Australia.
Yeah. Oh,
But
okay. Yeah.
yeah, when I watched it, I was like, "Holy crap! This show is so bad. It's good."
Exactly.
Yeah.
What fictional character do you relate to or just care deeply about?
I'm gonna go with care deeply about, because I don't think that relate. I don't think I fully relate to any one particular character, but
Mm,
I really, really care about Jon Snow and the
mm,
Stark kids.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll always have a place in my heart.
Yeah. Yeah. They were there from the beginning for the channel.
Yeah,
So yeah.
yeah,
Definitely the
yeah.
first. Yeah. What show or film gave you your favorite reaction experience with the channel?
Um, for film, it's probably gonna be Revenge of the Sith.
Hmm.
That is my most viewed video
Right.
to this day, but
Yeah.
it's
Great
also
one.
such a great film and probably my favorite Star Wars film.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I'd say it's mine as well. Yeah.
yeah, it's so good. And then for the show, I mean, you already know it's Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's one of those shows. It's hard to beat. It's just like it'll forever have that special space for you.
Even though the last few seasons were rough.
Yeah. Yeah. It's still special in some way.
Mhm.
What show or film do you wish you could erase from your memory and react to again for the first time on camera?
Well, I'm gonna be so real with you right now and just say I've got the shittest memory of anyone that I know. So I could probably watch Iron Man again, and I've reacted to that,
Mhm.
and it'd probably all be new to me because I haven't seen it in 4 years,
Yeah.
and I cannot tell you what happens in that movie. I can't tell you. I would need to watch a recap video
All right. Yeah.
if I was to watch something Like if there was a Marvel movie coming out and it would include Iron Man lore, I would have to watch a recap video on YouTube in order to understand the new content, because I think it's because I consume so much that I just have to like, I just forget.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like that kind of thing I mentioned. Like some people just sort of like, they feel like they black out once they're done with it. It's like a whoosh, but
Yeah,
luckily you
that's
have it
it.
recorded.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like my mom's the same way. My mother actually, she can watch a movie and then like 6 months later, we could just watch it again. And it's a whole new
Yep,
experience for her.
yep.
She just like gets
That's
seeing it for the first time.
that's what I'm like.
Yeah,
I'm so embarrassed by it, but at the same time, it works well for my channel.
of course. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny when I had to catch her up on like a show that's you say been gone for like a while or something. I'll actually show her reaction edits. I'll show her the compilation edits that like from like J2O or something to catch her up on the episodes that she had to remember. We did that for Squid Game, getting
Oh,
into season
yeah.
2. So
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I forgot Squid Game because
yeah,
I just
exactly.
and they had like a 3-minute recap. I was like, "Thank God.
Yeah,
Thank God. I forgot everything."
yeah, yeah. It's very helpful.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and the final question we have here is, what advice would you give to your past self if you can go back in time when you started the channel?
Probably if you're going to do collaborations, make sure that the other person has their own mic as well.
Right.
Because I watch some of the past collaborations that I've done, and I'm just like, I can't hear the other person. Like, what are they
Yeah,
saying? What
yeah.
the heck? And even though like I'll have the mic in the middle when I do a collaboration, an in-person collaboration, I should say.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, probably that. And then I would say don't do 7 videos a week. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like
Good advice all around.
don't know why. But in 2021, we had 4 months of COVID
Right.
lockout laws. So again, we were home a lot. So it was easier to go crazy
Yeah.
and just lock in.
Yeah. Which a lot of people did
Yeah,
over that
yeah.
time.
Probably
Yeah. But great advice all around, I'd say, for anyone who's getting started
yeah.
nowadays. Mary, thank you so much for being here. Again, it's been a long time coming, but I'm really, really happy to finally have you on for
Yeah.
this.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel honored to
Of
be
course.
included.
Yeah, no, it's an honor for me to have you on, and as part of the collection of people that we've had so far. You're definitely again, like to me, icon in the space, and everything you're doing
Aw,
is so helpful and important. And I really
thank
appreciate
you
everything
so
you've done so
much.
far. Of
You're
course.
too kind. Thank you.
Yeah, where can we find you on social media, YouTube, otherwise?
YouTube, Mary Cherry Official. I think, yes, Mary Cherry Official. And then everywhere else, I have not been able to get the normal spelling of Mary Cherry, like just Marycherry.
Right.
So I have a double Y at the end of Mary and
Mhm.
another Y at the end of Cherry. So that's where you can find me on all of the other social media platforms.
Perfect. You can find me at Chronic across social media. You can find us at the Reactorverse across social media as well. You'll find links to our Discord and Patreon down below. And we'll catch everyone on the next episode.
Bye, guys.